Hello there, Bloomers and friends. Rev Kev coming to you in the midst of Holy Week 2019. This has been an emotional time in the life of the Christian church and of many people all around the world. With the fire that broke out at the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, it's pretty remarkable how there is such an outpouring of a sense of loss among so many people as a result of this, great event that took place. I am happy that they talk about rebuilding. I've never been to Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. I've never been to Paris. And so I hope to do that someday in the future. And so I look forward to seeing it then. What was amazing was how many people were so struck by this. Maybe it was the fire. Maybe it's the fact that it's an 800-year-old building that has stood, but that building has been through a lot of troubles and was restored, like 100 and some years ago. The rafters that were burning were 160 years old. And do you know, for planning ahead purposes, when those rafters were constructed from the oak trees, an avenue of oaks was planted at Versailles so that when the rafters would need to be restored again in the future, the wood would be ready. That's planning ahead. It was really a powerful time. At the same time, let's also remember that 3 historically African American churches were burned within the last few weeks in the South as an act of terrorism by the son of a county sheriff. Let's remember that there have been other kinds of attacks on mosques and synagogues, and so this kind of disruption to religious life is something that is huge in the situation of global news with Notre Dame, but it's something that's happening on a very local scale as well. It's also wonderful that we know that evidently $1 billion has been pledged for the immediate replacement of Notre Dame and fixing it. That's pretty wonderful. Out of the ashes will rise a building again. Excuse me. I know that there are people trying to raise money for the churches, the 3 African American churches in the South as well. And that's something on our own shores. And I hope that people will step up as enthusiastically for that. Excuse me. These are the kinds of things that actually are thematic with this week with this Holy Week in our Christian heritage, because basically this is a time that talks about celebration, confrontation with authorities in power, a judicial process, an execution, a great deal of sadness and grief, and then the joy of the resurrection story that follows on Easter morning. The thing that goes on for us is that in the midst of great loss, there can be, as the song goes, joy in the morning. And so it is important for us to not lose sight of that as an important part of the central message of what we're experiencing in this Holy Week. I don't mean to be too lighthearted about any of this, because it's very important. We know that there are people who we know who are very close to us, who are feeling loss, who are feeling difficult times, who are feeling abandoned, who are feeling caged, people who are involved in situations that are overwhelming to them. And basically the promise that we have as Christians is to say that as we survive those moments, it's the possibility of renewal in the future. Even in death, we have an understanding that the life force that is within us goes on. Our soul goes on. As my mother called it, our spark lives on, joins with the universe, joins with our ancestors in the universe in the ways in which that happens in our own lives. I am clear that there are stories of this season that work for me, and there are stories of this season that work for others, and there probably are stories of this season that work for you. But what I hope, and what I hope is that the story that you have is a story that enables you to get through to the next day. a story that helps you know that you will survive, a story that lets you know that there is love surrounding you cosmically, spiritually, and from your friends and family, at least that's my hope. So we will celebrate on Easter coming up. We will celebrate with songs from Charles Herrera and Keisha D. We will celebrate with music being provided by Lenny Smith. We'll celebrate with our annual Hallelujah Chorus sing-along that happens at the end of the service. Anybody who wants to sing, we'll give you a score and come on up and sing with us. And we get through it, and that's the climactic end of our Easter morning service. We'll celebrate with a beautiful floral presentation. We'll celebrate with the reveal of pulling down the cloth that reveals our worship center that will be inspirational. And we celebrate with the word from our scriptures as well as from our hearts. So we hope that you will be with us this Easter. If you can't be with us in the room, you can be with us on Facebook Live. If you can't be with us in either way, we hope you'll be with us in spirit. And as always, we hope that you'll keep us in your prayers.